I want to talk to you today about these three products. They all look different. They have some things in common and some things they don't. They're all based on nature. They've all been extracted from nature. They're all produced by nature. They're all plant products. This is the baobab, from the baobab tree, the baobab fruit. This material has been approved for use in Europe across 27 member states because it's been given novel foods approval. This is an extract of an algae that was approved in 2004 as a food, as a novel food, and is being sold in food supplements. And this is another plant product from South Africa, whose regulatory status at the moment in 2010 is unknown. The jury's out on this one. So we have three products, all different. Now, today I want to talk to you about how to get approval, how to develop food supplements in Europe. I just want to go through a few things with you. When you're considering about releasing a product onto the market, the first thing is you need to check, does it exist already? By looking at what other companies are doing, it's very useful. You can get some useful information, although some can be incorrect. Just because something's on sale in Europe, on the shelves, does not mean that it's been approved. There is many products right now on the shelves in Europe that are illegal and that should not be there from a regulatory point of view, but they are. But nevertheless, it gives you an idea of perhaps what's going on in the marketplace. Secondly, you need to check, if you're producing a formulation, that it's not had a patent on it. You can't afford to risk getting patent infringement, so you need to do a proper check to see if a formulation or a particular plant or a particular process is new. This is very important, otherwise litigation can occur later on. The next thing is to look at the source of the material. Again, if we look at baobab, it's important to know where it's from exactly, and each product, whether it's baobab or not, it's important to know the source. Nature varies. You can have the same botanical species in different parts of a country, in different regions of a country, and the biological activity of that material can be different. So what the regulators want to see is, from a safety point of view, is this product consistent? Does it contain similar amounts of active chemicals, or does it contain similar amounts of toxins? They want an idea of the safety of the material. So it's important to know exactly where it's come from and to try to standardise it, to try and get a consistent product. And this is achievable. It's challenging, but it's achievable. And also many companies think that just because you've got the same species, that's good enough. As I said, the source where it's grown is important, but also the part of the plant. Just because you're using echinacea, say, which is considered a medicinal plant in many European countries, what is it? Is it the root? Is it the leaf? Is it the flower? You know, these are important because the constituents vary in different parts of the plant. So it's important to know which part of the plant you're using, and then the manufacturer. You know, how's it collected? Because one can look at the history of use of a plant material, and you can find that it's being produced in different ways. Some people may be crushing up seeds, somewhere else might be boiling the seeds to remove an oil that's maybe toxic. So how was it used in the country of origin is important, and that brings me on to history of use. With the development of food supplements and novel foods, it's very important to look for a history of use. There is requirements for that in the regulations. For example, if something's not been on sale to a significant degree prior to 1997 in Europe, then it's considered novel food and you have to get novel foods approval. But also the history of use is important from the country of origin, because it will give us insight into how the plant is being used, and if we can show a history of use in that country of origin, then that can be used to contribute to the safety dossier, and you may not have to have so much toxicological studies done, which can be very time consuming, very expensive. But history of use needs to be done properly. It cannot be just anecdotal evidence. For example, if one goes and looks at herbal books, there is many books of regurgitated ideas going round and round in circles, that just because 100 different herbal medicine books say that something is being used in herbal medicine does not mean it to be true. We need to go back to sources and try and find the source and find evidence of use. So this is a very important thing. And for example, if we look at Indian herbs, often they have different common names, local names, because of all the different regions in India, and so it can be quite challenging to get a significant history of use or a history of use in that country. You want to make sure the botanical species is the same as the common species, and then when it's important to Europe, sometimes, for example, one can look at European communities of people, say, from other countries living here, and they're eating foods they enjoyed back in their own countries, and again we can look for evidence of that, and that can be used to support history of use. The way the plant material is produced, is the way it's extracted, will have an effect on its safety and its biological activity. So you need to be sure about the manufacturing process. Some companies are looking to innovate where a formulation is mainly the innovation, and so they're looking at unique combinations to produce something brand new. Other times they're looking for innovation where an extract is produced, where the material is more concentrated, or it's more stable, that's why it's being used, or it's more amenable to formulation work. All these things can affect the biological activity of the product and the way it's going to be used. Many companies try to introduce a product into one country, and it's been used as a food in that country, and then they automatically think that therefore it's going to be as food supplement in all the other countries. This is not true. There's much confusion here. One of the ways of trying to guarantee that is to get this food status established very early on. Some plant materials are considered medicines, some are considered foods in different European states, and so you need to clear that up. And one of the ways to do that is to get approval through EFSA, centrally in Europe, rather than on an individual country basis. And once the status is confirmed as a food, then you can apply the regulations, food supplement regulations, and file dossiers. Sometimes only letters are needed in the 27 member states individually. The other issue, though, sometimes is this confusion about what is a medicine and what is a food, and sometimes the way that a food status can be assured is to look at the level of concentration, how much is in there. If a herb is being used medicinally, say in China, and at a certain concentration, but the company wants to sell it as a food supplement, then if it's used in lesser concentrations, so it's not medicinally active, then that is one way around it. But each case needs to be looked at individually, because some plants will be considered medicinal really almost no matter what the concentration is used, especially for plants that treat serious medical conditions. They're very likely to be just considered medicines regardless of their concentration. The presentation is important as well. Is it going to be used in a capsule? Have there been clinical trials done to show that it has medicinal effects, or is it a health effect? And then the labelling is important, and the kinds of health claims that you can make. This is a very new area for Europe, but health claims are slowly being approved. But there are challenges, and there's a lot of people trying to find common ground and find a way through, so that the consumers can enjoy food supplements, because there's no doubt about it, there's a great demand for natural products. Many people want to enjoy the benefits or the potential benefits of taking health products, and so this is a bone of contention at the moment in Europe. And a case in point is sometimes a study will show that maybe this is a particular health claim is effective in only 60% of the people, and that would probably be thrown out from a regulatory point of view. But somebody on the street may say, well, hold on a minute, actually I'd like to know that it works in 60% of cases. I'd like to buy it, even though, because I might be the 60% that benefits from it. So these kind of issues are the ones that are being debated, and on a case-by-case basis things are taken through. But at the moment you can't just nowadays you cannot just put a health claim on your product. You used to be able to do that a few years ago, but it's been tightened up, and that was partly because there was a lot of confusion with consumers. They just weren't sure which products did work, which ones didn't, and so some people are now arguing that the entry level to getting a health claim is far too high. It's very similar to drugs, and that these are foods, and there should be softer claims and softer evidence in place. And so this is all unfolding at the moment. And so one of the ways companies are dealing with this is to either not put health claims at all on the packaging or associated material, and if it's well known from a history of use point of view, then consumers will find out about its uses. Or the companies are investigating softer claims, which they're hoping would be approved, or some are just not putting any claims at all anywhere. So these are the kind of things that are unfolding, and I think it's like mud. If you squeeze it, it comes out through the gaps in the fingers, and some of the industry is feeling squeezed at the moment, and want to find ways through, not particularly breaking the law, but just trying to find ways where they can continue to market their products. So all these factors need to be taken into account, and this is how one gets through and produces or gets a food supplement, how to get a food supplement on sale in Europe. So there's quite a few hurdles, but nevertheless there's thousands and thousands of products on the market. There's 500 million people in Europe, and there's a big demand for these kind of products. So where there's a will, there's a way. And I shall talk more about these facets and different aspects when I get time, but I hope that this has been useful. Thank you.